have an ambition? Trust your instincts. Move forward. This is your moment to shape your future, to be independent, to strengthen yourself. Your time is now. Accelerate your progress. Empowering your progress for a fulfilled life. Union Assurance.
Hi, I am Draupadie Wickramasinghe from Majä New Story, and I will be answering Living's questions today for Living Gets Real.
Hi Draupadie, and welcome to Living Gets Real. It's a pleasure to have you sitting with us today in the studio. So Majä, what inspired you to start Majä, and how did the idea of upcycling pre-loved saris come to life?
So there are different angles on how the brand came to life, but I've always had a lot of access to cupboards and cupboards full of saris because of my mother and my grandmother. One was a banker, the other one was a teacher. So when I was in college, I remember I would come home for my break and then would want to have a unique piece of garment to wear for like events in college, and to have something different. So I would always like grab something from the cupboard and get someone to make something out of it. Fast forward to 2019, when I still had access to some of these garments, especially of my late grandmother's, I decided to create a small collection, sort of like a little capsule of skirts, two like reversible skirts which can be worn 4 different ways, and they became quite a hit. Like, it was a very successful experiment. Then I tried out different products and different, despite my background being in something else and training being in something else, I tried it out with different products and silhouettes and so on. And I realized that this cupboards full of saris is such a South Asian problem that everyone has this in their household, a lot of people, especially our friends, family. And yes, that was the start or inception of Majä New Story.
So it came out of your own necessity, I suppose,
I
way
think
back
so.
then.
Yeah, I think so. It was sort of like I just wanted something very unique to take back to college, and affording something that unique and that intricate and special in New York would have been very, very expensive for a college kid. So I decided to come back home, get it done, and go back and do it. That was the start of it.
Interesting. All right, so Draupadie, how do you balance the rich heritage of the sari with contemporary fashion trends in your designs?
So I would say 4 or 5 aspects that we like to inculcate into each design so that we maintain the rich heritage and what each piece, the sentiment behind each piece. So one is by reimagining the traditional textiles. Secondly, we try to ensure that every piece is versatile and timeless, sort of ensuring that each piece is sort of it's not just trend driven, but also that we make it a timeless piece, or one that you can wear for a longer period of time in case, so versatility is very important. And the aesthetic of each piece, one that holds on to the culture and the soul of the garment, but also ensuring that it's accepted not only in Sri Lanka but anywhere in the world. So that's how we try to keep to the rich heritage of each sari that we come across.
Interesting, very nice. So your brand Majä is built on the principles of circular fashion we were just discussing during the break. How do you incorporate this into your designs and the business model to promote sustainability and, very importantly, reduce waste?
Right. Firstly, it's the upcycling and the zero waste approach. So we upcycle the vintage saris and we ensure that every single piece left over is utilized. So we create something for a larger garment, and then whatever is left over goes into a different bucket, and then we try to look at ways of repurposing that piece, and whatever is left over from that is used, so on and so forth. So we look at that, we upcycle, and then it's a zero waste approach. Even in our packaging, we make sure that packaging is also through a brand or a vendor that works with a zero waste approach. Secondly is our community, and how we work with the community to make sure that the craftsmanship and the focus on each garment is such that none of the garments are mass produced. So we really make sure that each garment has that intricate detail, structure and the texture utilized in a way that even the craft is appreciated, but also the craftsman is appreciated as well. And fair trade is part and parcel of the brand, without question. There's also the part where we try to educate our community. Community means not only the makers but also the users or the consumers of the brand. So we make sure that there's a lot of education that goes out along with the product that we put out. And we also are trying our hardest to educate the consumer not only through just literature but also ways that they can mend a garment, as well as how we can take back the garment when they no longer use it, so that we can use the item to create something else out of it.
That's an interesting concept. Yeah. That's very nice.
It's we are trying to approach an absolute zero waste zero waste. That's our end goal.
Amazing. Okay, so in a world where fast fashion is so prevalent, what role do you see sustainable fashion playing in the future, particularly in our country?
Sustainable fashion is no longer going to be an alternative for the industry, especially in a country where craftsmanship and textile heritage runs very deep. We've had decades and decades of industry knowledge and know-how. So in a way where Sri Lanka is somewhat yet to embrace slow fashion, even though we have the technical know-how, expertise, and talent for it basically. But Sri Lanka can essentially, with all of that knowledge and know-how, Sri Lanka can essentially be a hub for slow fashion because of what historically can bring to the table. But moreover, it's to do with how trend-driven fashion shouldn't be the only focus by even larger brands. So supporting and working with brands, slow fashion brands like Majä, or even there's quite a few that have blossomed in the last decade or decade plus actually, that promotes a lot of slow fashion, that talks about capsule collections and creating ways to slow down and have a consume less, more or less. There are ways that Sri Lanka can move forward with a slow fashion movement, but it all boils down to how much education and know-how is also out in the community. In Sri Lanka, sustainable fashion has room to thrive by promoting circular fashion, mostly by embracing craftsmanship, reducing waste by using existing fabrics, and slowing down on the consumption, and being mindful about what you buy and what you consume on a day-to-day basis.
So we are the last question. Looking ahead, since you also mentioned that you dabble in jewelry and you just launched your line of jewelry as well last year, what is next for Majä? How do you envision the brand evolving in the coming years?
So we have plans to expand our product lines, by which I mean what we offer as a product, from not just clothing and fashion and accessories, but also maybe homeware, and in ways that we can utilize the different type, because we use saris and saris come in a variety of types of fabric. So we always try to find ways to use the fabric rather than design the item and go the other way. So we do have plans to expand on our product offering, strengthening community and education by sharing the story, not just our story, but the stories of the fabric and where it comes from, through workshops and so on, so that the person owning the new product would know how much work, effort and love has been put into each product. And we'd like to work on a more global impact as well. So global reach. We have in the past few years been to different countries and told people about our brand through pop-ups and shared our story and so on. We'd like to do it a little bit more, so that more people appreciate these pieces of garments and it's not just confined to our island.
Okay. Alright, so we come to the end of segment 1, which is the questions, and we will catch you back on segment 2. We have a fun little game for you. So we'll see you then.
The latest issue of LMD is available at lmdmall.lk. You can also access the digital version on Press Reader, Maxter, our social media platforms and WhatsApp. The Voice of Business, a legacy of 30 years.
Welcome to segment 2, which is the fun little game we have for you, Draupadie. So I have some questions. Some of them are absolutely silly, some of them are very funny, and a couple of serious ones. So just answer whatever just pops into your head as soon as you ask a question. Okay?
Sure.
All right, the first one. How long do you think you'll survive in a zombie apocalypse?
Honestly, not very long. I don't think so.
What is it that you keep wanting to smell despite the fact that it doesn't smell particularly good?
But I think petroleum,
I have the same thing.
it's not good for you. But it's one of those things, like, I think there's a name for them, like glue sniffer, I think, right?
Yeah, let's not get there. You said you had dogs, right?
Yes.
If you were a dog, which breed would you want to be?
Saint Bernard.
Okay,
They're so
interesting.
fluffy and happy. They're always happy.
Okay, so toilet paper. How do you hang it? Over or under?
Over.
Why is it that round pizzas come in square boxes?
So that there's space for you to pick it up.
Huh, logic, okay.
Also, it's easier to stack.
Okay. So what would you call a male ladybug?
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness, I don't know. What would I
Okay.
call? I don't know.
Okay.
What is it called?
A ladybug.
Okay.
So what are the 3 items you might purchase at a grocery store or a supermarket to get strange looks from the cashier? Okay, that's thinking too much.
I think blow torches.
Okay.
Yeah. If I have rope and blow torches, they might if the cashier is bothered to wonder, they'd be like, what is this person up to?
Okay. What's the sexiest name you've ever heard?
Alejandro.
Alright. What is the silliest thing you've ever seen a stranger do in public? Any
Silliest?
kind of silly incidents that you've stumbled upon or come across?
Oh, fixing their toupee.
Good one.
Because it had gone like sideways, so.
What do you typically do when you're bored?
I play with my dogs.
Have you ever made a prank call to someone you don't know?
Yes and no. I don't know in the sense we used to prank call my best friend's boyfriend's mom.
Okay.
A lot because she was very annoying. We used to prank call her.
If you were to be banned from your local library, what would be the reason?
Probably because I didn't return the books.
If you could ask me a funny question, what would that be? I don't necessarily have to answer it, but if there was a funny question.
What did the urologist say to Thor?
I have no idea.
You now have a kidney stone.
Okay, good one. If you could remove one color in the world, what would it be and why?
Grey.
What's the most creative insult you can think of?
Most creative insult.
I can't think of. I can think of a lot of insults, but
Where would you like to time travel? Back to the past or to the future?
back to the past. Not to fix anything, but to spend time with a few people that I could have and should have.
Okay. What color would you like if you had to eat a crayon straight from a box?
I think the very, very dark pink.
Okay.
It reminds me of a really good strawberry, but also just to try it out, just to you know how you know when something smells pink and looks pink.
Okay.
You're making me say things that I'm probably gonna regret in a week.
What musical instrument has the most annoying sound to you personally?
I think anything that drones.
Oh, okay. Right.
So when you pluck it,
Okay.
or you,
Yeah.
it just drones.
Right.
So any instrument that has a droning effect shouldn't be around.
Okay. In all honesty, what are some of your guilty pleasures that you are willing to admit?
So there's the food component of it, and then there is the like music is sometimes a guilty pleasure for me, and also trashy TV. Like I think I love watching just mindless comedies. I think that tops the list of all. But sometimes something I argue with my husband most is he's into like a lot of action. It's either an action movie or a documentary for him, and in between maybe some sitcoms which he's familiar with, whereas I just watch mindless things that can be wallpapered, just playing in the background. So that's a guilty pleasure of mine.
What would you do if you could replace all the grass on the planet with something else, and why?
Without repercussions of it, but I love gel beads.
Okay.
It feels wonderful on your feet. So if it's replacing grass, it should at least be something, or it has to be a thin layer of ice with water underneath.
So how many ants would it take to lift an elephant?
I would say hundreds of thousands. I don't know.
What is the soundtrack of your life, if you have to put a soundtrack?
You're killing me today.
The last few.
I think different stages of my life had different soundtracks. If you ask me what my soundtrack was in 2012, it would have been, there's Never Saw It Coming, should have started running long time ago.
Okay.
It's some heavy alternative rock song, I don't know. But I think right now it's more This Year's Love by David Gray. Yeah.
Okay. What is it that everybody seems to be doing right now that makes them look stupid?
TikTok trends.
Okay, I wasn't the only one. Okay. What's the craziest characteristic that you have?
Craziest. I'm very possessive of people. It's like I want people around me to be like as is, I think, which I think is a bit crazy, but it weans out after a while.
All right, you've done very well.
Oh my
Draupadie.
gosh.
Yes, we've come to the
I
end.
don't do well with spontaneity.
But you've done very well. So thank you for being on the show, Draupadie. It was a pleasure to have you with us in the studio today, and we wish Majä the very best in the many things that we hope to see in the future, including various different things like household. You were just mentioning in your answer. Excited to see what's to look forward to many other things that come. Thank you again, and all the very best.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for thinking of the brand and letting me share the brand story with you.
Most welcome.
There you have it. These are my answers to the questions and the game. Be sure to check out Living's Instagram and Facebook pages for the latest episodes of Living Gets Real.